Hi, I'm Heather Bortnem from Commerce Bakery, and I'm going to show you how to make pretzels today. So we start off, bread flour, fresh yeast, and salt. Get this all in our mixer with the dough hook. I have a big one. You at home could use a small one. Wet ingredients, water. I use duck fat, which is my special secret ingredient. At home, if you want, you could use butter. It'll be almost as good. And a little honey. Get it all mixed up. Very important, these ingredients have to be cold. Everything, cold water, cold honey, cold butter. Mix it up, pour it in. Get the last of that honey out of there. Everything together on speed 1 or low speed on your little KitchenAid mixer at home for about 8 minutes. It's almost coming together, and it should feel very soft and a little moist. There's some pieces of flour still to work in. Don't be alarmed. Don't add more flour or water. This dough just takes some time to come together. Just give it some time. Keep an eye on it. Take a look at the dough. See how it starts to get a little more smooth? Like before we had some chunks of flour, now it's kind of got a smooth outside. That's just about there. And it's been about 10 minutes since I started it. Depending on your mixer at home, it's going to take maybe a little bit longer, but this is what you want to look for. It's relatively smooth, it's got a few chunks in it, but that will work itself out when we let it rest. We're basically letting all the ingredients that we mix together. In the process of mixing, they get really tight, and we want them to kind of relax a little bit. The gluten and the flour and the water mixing together, they just need some time to like chill out before we start cutting them and shaping them. The longer it rests, the easier it is going to be to shape. But we can't let it rest too long because there's a lot of yeast in it. And from the moment it started mixing, that yeast is going to work now and it's starting to rise. So making pretzels is a good balance between letting it rest, but not rest too long because we don't want it to rise. So give this guy about 10 minutes, covered in plastic, very important, or a moist towel works too. Feel how it's a little dry. It's not moist like a wet dough, so at no point in this process do you need to use flour. You don't want any flour on the board, no flours on your hands, you don't need it. If you have a cutting board, a big cutting board works best for this process because you want something that's going to make the dough stick. Metal is not so great, maybe a marble countertop would be alright. The way I do it is I scale it out to 100 grams for a big pretzel. So once they're all cut, by the time you've cut them all, the ones that you cut first should be a little rested, so you can go ahead with the first step. The first step, very simple, very quick, and very inexact. You just press it down into like a really, really rough rectangle. And then you roll it 3 times. And that's it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be exact. This is what we call a pre-shape, and it's just getting the dough ready for the shaping. Once again, cover in plastic or a moist towel. One of those little garbage bags from home, like for the 10-gallon garbage bag, a clean one, and just use that to cover, and then you can like keep reusing it and reusing it. It can be your bread garbage bag. Clean one. It's very important. So now we wait another 10 minutes. Dough gets to rest. We get to rest. So after we've rested for a little bit, we're going to start rolling out our dough. This is the way I, as a right-handed person, would do this. As a left-handed person, just take what I'm doing and flip it around. I take my left hand in the center and my right hand on top, because my right hand is my strong hand, and roll it to like thin. Like maybe Sharpie width. And then spread the hands apart and roll it out longer. And I think it's really important in this process that you use your knuckles. And like rolling your knuckles along the dough helps it stretch out. So also on your board, if you feel like it's getting really dry, you can get a moist towel and moisten it up a little bit. Rub that water in. You don't want it to be wet, just a little moist. And it helps the dough stick to it, which helps you stretch the dough out. Rather than the dough sliding back and forth, it's actually rolling. All right. Stretch your pretzel out to looks like about 20 inches. Point both ends up. Twist around in one direction. Twist around again in the same direction. Fold it over and press. And you have pretzels. Get your pretzels on a rack, and this is a very important step too. Make sure, see how the rack puts little lines in the pretzels? Make sure this bottom side is down, otherwise you're going to get lines on the front of your pretzel. So this is a measured amount of water that's simmering, and this is a measured amount of baking soda. It's in the recipe. So you want to bring the water up to a simmer/boil. If you want, you can boil it at first. It'll slow down to a simmer when you add your baking soda. So it's going to boil up a little bit, so you want to add it slowly. If you add it all at once, it's going to explode in your face and be unpleasant. Add your pretzels, and they're only going to be in the water for a few seconds, so you don't want to add too many. You don't want to add more than you can pull out. Just drop them in, a few at a time. Give them a little stir, and then take them back out, one at a time. Maybe 10 seconds they're in the water, if even that. Just in and out, very quickly. Remember, there's still a lot of yeast in these pretzels, and they're still rising, so adding them to this hot water will make them poof up. It gives the yeast a little jolt, because the yeast loves warmth. So they're going to poof up a little bit. That's a good sign. You want that to happen. And then you want to get them into the oven as soon as they're out of the water. So let's go. So earlier, like I said earlier, you should preheat your oven to 400 degrees and put the tray inside your oven to get hot. Because the pretzels have to go on a hot tray, like I said before at the beginning. So we're going to put a little coarse salt on the pretzels. They're already pretty well seasoned, so don't put too much. I just do a little bit just to like give them a nice little look. And this is just the coarse salt you buy at the grocery store. This is the stuff I use. So in the oven, 400 degrees, hot tray. I use these pizza stones. If you have a pizza stone at home, it works great. If not, you can just use a regular tray as long as it's hot. Very important, it has to be hot. When you put the pretzels down, I don't know if you can hear that, but they should sizzle. Don't put them too close together because they are going to rise. Somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. They cook fast, just watch them. They're going to start to get a little color, a little dark. That's good. You don't want it too dark. Like this one is probably just about right. The rest may be a little longer. Also, you might want to give them a turn halfway through the baking. And to get them off this tray, this hot tray, I have this awesome little scraping tool. It shouldn't stick at all. As long as the tray was hot, they should come off the tray very easily. Just slide right off like that. And so we put them on some sort of wire, something cool. So that is how you make pretzels. If by chance you don't want to do that at home, come by the Brooklyn Brewery Sundays between noon and 5 for the tasting room, and you can buy them from Commerce Bakery.
Well, let's try them.
Whew.
Very good.
If only I had a tall, cold beer.
Well, there you go. Making pretzels with Heather.